Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to today's video. Today I'm going to be reacting to Mr. Nightmare 3 True Lockdown Horror Stories Animated. Now, I just finished reacting to the Unit 522 Scary True Urbex Horror Stories. When I was talking about Mr. Nightmare in that video, just as soon as I finished the editing and uploading, I just seen Mr. Nightmare released 2 videos. He released this video, Lockdown Animated, and then he released another one that was like 4 True Fog Horror Stories or some shit like that. I don't know. I'm probably going to watch the Fog one in my spare time, but I decided to hop on a reaction for you guys for this one because I've heard a lot of Lockdown Horror Stories that Mr. Nightmares did. This one's animated. Llama Arts does a lot of animations of Mr. Nightmare stories, but he's never, Mr. Nightmare himself, I don't think has ever put an animated horror story or compilation on his channel. So I was excited to check this out. So yeah, let's jump on into it. I think these will all be ones I've heard before. Animated and shit though. Gives you more visual, like, helps you picture the atmosphere a lot better.
I went to a school in California. We always had a lockdown drill once a month. But only one time ever was it not a drill. I was in the cafeteria during my lunch period.
Bro, these look like kids' cartoons.
In charge of watching the lunchroom announced over the microphone for everyone to be quiet. He announced to us that the school was going into lockdown and ordered us to be quiet. I think he genuinely scared everyone by how serious and nervous he sounded, because everyone in the cafeteria looked genuinely shook and actually shut up. I looked around the disturbingly quiet cafeteria and could see everyone else was doing the same thing, taking nervous, curious glances at their friends and strangers at other tables.
I'm looking at this dude, this dude's looking at that dude, and I'm looking at this dude again.
A gunshot echoed from across the school.
Gunshot?
And that's when panic set in with everyone. Some kids ran for the exit door. The teacher in charge of the cafeteria yelled at everyone to hide under the tables.
Dumbass motherfuckers. You hear a gunshot and your first instinct is to run for the exit doors. I mean, I'm maybe judging too quick. Maybe there's doors that lead to like the exit of the cafeteria. Then there's like a back door that you can leave the cafeteria to outside. You know what I mean? But if you're trying to run for the exit that leads into the hallways and shit so you can run out the front door, that's fucking stupid. You know what I mean? I'm always the first one to say run, but that's fucking stupid if you're gonna try and leave the cafeteria when you just heard a gunshot from there. You know what I mean? Well, how bougie is this place too? Like, they have a teacher watching everyone in the cafeteria, you know what I mean? Like, fuck, Jesus.
He locked the cafeteria doors and shut off the lights.
Everyone hide. There you go, make it look like the cafeteria's closed.
Heart racing, feeling sick, knowing my life could be in danger.
Could be.
Every minute felt like an eternity, just waiting for someone on the intercom to say it's all clear. Then, across the cafeteria, there was a sudden outroar of screams from students, mostly girls. The sound of tables and chairs being moved or falling over. My friends and I looked out from under the table, and we saw a kid with a gun outside the locked door of the cafeteria.
School shooting type shit.
I remember hearing gunshots. He was shooting at the glass door. The glass didn't shatter right away. I don't even know if it did at all.
God.
But the entire lunchroom cleared out through the 2 side exit doors to the outside. Students of all ages either ran to their cars or off the school property and into the neighborhood streets. I ran in the direction of the front of the school, also the direction of my house. I saw police cars already outside. I think they had just arrived at that point, but I didn't stick around to watch. I got home and told my parents, and my dad turned on the news to see the shooting was already being talked about.
He looks pissed.
Miraculously, only 1 girl was wounded, and the police somehow apprehended him without killing him.
Bruh, he had a gun and shit.
Sorry for anyone else who has to go through something like this.
School shooting, bro.
Fearing for your life that much is not something anyone should have to go through.
This is on the news. It's probably a big story. I want to know names, you know, why he did it, motives, that like, Jesus. Fuck's the point?
I went to a very poor high school in a bad neighborhood. Because of that, we regularly had fire drills and lockdown drills in the case of something happening. During a lockdown, the teacher would turn off the lights and we'd all hide in a corner of the classroom without saying anything. It was a cold day in the third quarter of the school year. The windows were all shut, obviously, but still, the teacher had to stop mid-sentence because we could all hear some kind of shouting outside. Definitely some kind of commotion.
Bro, Mr. Nightmare is too clean with his audio, you know what I mean? You know how, like, you hear this in the other horror stories? This is what the other horror stories lack, you know what I mean? He goes, we hear some shouting outside. You hear the fucking audio or, like, the little clips they have of some motherfucker going, screaming this shit, and he goes, yeah, and he started pounding on the door. Like he adds those little audio effects that make his whole scene more realistic and more like you can picture yourself in it once you hear those types of things. That's what a lot of other horror story fucking storytellers lack, though. That's the thing. Like, he's so good, bro. Fuck, creepy.
Outside, then opened one of the windows, but the yelling seemed to stop by the time he did. At the same time, the dean started speaking over the loudspeaker and said we were going into a lockdown.
Another crackhead broke into our ghetto school.
And turned off the lights. We all
Nor the yelling.
Went to the corner of the room. Time seemed to move slow as we were all huddled in that corner. Screams started coming from the hallway. Not the screams of students, but deranged, angry screams from a grown man.
Right.
Familiar to the screaming we briefly heard from outside. Someone dangerous was in the building, clearly. The school I went to didn't have security guards. It was too poor. So literally, in a case
now,
like
seriously
this,
though, what schools have security guards? Maybe in the U.S. it's more of a popular thing. I have never seen a high school in the whole province I'm at that has a security guard. I swear to God.
Have to wait for police to arrive. The screams were then accompanied by bangs on a nearby door. Another classroom. We could hear the screams of the kids in the room next to us. The banging stopped. The screaming grew closer.
But everyone
right
shut up.
Outside our door. And then bangs on our classroom door. A couple kids screamed and started to cry.
Or shut the fuck up. The point of a lockdown is to make it look like you're not there. You know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to hide in the corner and make it look like the classroom's empty, no one's there. That's the point of it. So some motherfucker comes banging on the door, he knows you're in there if you're all gonna scream and cry. You know what I mean? Scream and cry after it's over, bro. And I mean, I know it's hard to say because I've never experienced it, but seriously, you're gonna be sitting there, you're fucking panicking and all that shit. You hear the banging on the door. Don't be screaming until the whole thing's over or this motherfucker has some gun to your head or something. Jesus, like, you're just giving away your spot.
Man on the other side of the door banged and banged. He started hitting the glass with his elbow, I think, as he screamed insane things that made no sense to us. Some of it being, I'm sick of it, and just stop already. The sickening sound of the small, thin glass window of the door shattering made the reality of the situation sink in even worse. Of course, kids on either side of me were screaming and crying now.
He looks so fucking calm.
Sitting there in total shock. The man on the other side of the door stuck his arm into the room through the thin window opening and tried unlocking the door. The teacher took that opportunity to grab a pair of scissors and literally stab the man's arm. The man cried out in pain, banged on the door a few more times, even harder now, and started running down the halls, still crying in what was probably a mix of pain and anger. The lockdown was ended a few minutes after police arrived. There had to be at least 6 cop cars outside. And yes, the crazy sicko man was arrested and probably brought to a mental.
Of course they made him black. Really?
The man apparently wasn't armed, but he clearly came into the school with intentions of hurting people. Kids, mind you.
Damn, bro. That's just fucking racist. We're in a bad neighborhood, you know, bad neighborhood, and they're gonna make the crazy guy breaking into shit black? Really? Pfft. Come on, Mr. Nightmare. Story 3. This one's gonna be a long one. This one takes up like half the video.
I'm 22 years old, fresh out of college, and I recently got a job at my old high school as a sort of computer intern in the school basement.
Why you running, bro?
The basement of the school is very messy and disorganized, but there is a small 3-person office that's actually very nice down there. It has 3 nice big desks, 2 mini fridges, a flat screen TV mounted on the wall, and oh so satisfying air conditioning, a luxury
I heard this one. This is Llama Arts animation too. I heard this one before. This was in his other one when he made the original Lockdown Horror Stories. Those were 2 original ones at the beginning, but this one is like a one that I've heard before. Like there's some, yeah, you know, I'm not gonna spoil shit. Let's just let it play.
Students and teachers cannot enjoy in the school, and of course all the school servers and other computery stuff.
I'm so happy there's an animation because I don't think there's an animation on this one before.
Flat out adored me. I could actually consider them as real friends, not just teacher figures. So they all helped tremendously in landing me this job.
I swear to God, that's Llama Arts animations though.
Until something that happened a few weeks ago. My two co-workers that shared the office with me, Dave and Gary, weren't in the office at the time. They were upstairs working on papers or whatever. I was eating my sandwich during my lunch break when I got a phone call from one of the women in the front office telling me the school was on lockdown and that somebody, possibly armed, had entered the school. There wasn't much that I could do other than turn off the lights because, surprisingly, as nice as this little office was, it didn't have an actual door to it, just a big opening, and the door to the whole basement didn't even have a working lock.
Bro, if that was the way the shit actually looked, I would have
did turn off
like
all the lights in the office
gunned it
and
for a
my
downstairs
computer
exit.
screen. I kept my phone on the desk, texting both Gary and Dave, but they wouldn't respond. I sat down there in the dark, playing games on my phone for like 20 minutes, waiting for the call from up front to tell me to resume working. I had no idea what was happening. I couldn't hear what was going on upstairs from down here. But I was not allowed to make any calls until I was informed that the lockdown was over. Then the noisy basement door opened. As the creaking echoed across the basement and into my office, I sat up from my seat, wondering if I should call out Gary or Dave. I
Nope,
was
dumbass
eager to
shit.
get some info from them.
Dumbass shit.
Someone then came running down the stairs, and their footsteps were approaching my office. I pushed away my chair and crawled under my desk. Somebody entered the office, but did not turn on the lights. There was just silence. I can't even describe the fear I was experiencing. I felt like if I made one sudden noise, I'd be a dead man. Suddenly, my phone dinged as I got a text message. I felt my entire world shrivel up and die.
Right when you're under the desk, bro. That's just so
I clenched my
unlucky.
teeth in fear. Footsteps suddenly moved closer to me until I finally dove out from under the desk in capitulation, begging whoever it was not to kill me. And just then, someone grabbed my arm and pulled me up. It was some guy in a red plaid button-up, jeans, and a reddish-black cap. He told me, "It's okay, I'm just down here hiding with you." "What's going on up there?" I whispered to him. He kind of ignored my question and asked me if there's an exit down here. I told him, "Yeah, around that way."
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I know you're on the clock, right, and you're working, but my life means more to me than a job, bro. If you heard that they were on lockdown, man, possibly armed, wouldn't you have ran out that exit? You know what I mean? That's fucking stupid.
He could do anything else.
I never picked up to that part of the story.
There was a brief moment of silence. Before he started explaining he was coming in to pick up his son, when a teacher told him to hide. After his explanation, I checked my phone and saw the text I received was from Dave. It said, "Dude, this is fucking crazy. Some guy with a gun shot Mr. Buckley. He's wearing a red shirt and a hat. Whatever you do, don't come upstairs." I was about to reread that text out loud to the man.
Massive stories.
Until I realized. I looked up and felt my stomach sink. The man seemed to catch on to my suspicious stare. Panicking, all I could think to do was to run for the upstairs. A gunshot echoed through the basement, and I could hear the bullet ricochet off something metal in the darkness.
Yeah, bro, that would've been so scary.
But thank God the bullet missed me, and I made it upstairs. Fortunately, police were waiting at all exits, including the basement exit, and caught the man the second he opened the door. More good news. Our teacher, Mr. Buckley, survived the gunshot. It was later determined that the man and Mr. Buckley had some beef for whatever reason, but that was never revealed.
Mr. Buckley had a second life. He owes him some money for some crack and a couple poker chips.
And I know that the sound of that gunshot will forever echo in my mind.
Bah. Creepy horror stories. Mr. Nightmare. He always kills it. Always kills it, Mr. Nightmare. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you like, subscribe. You want me to do more Mr. Nightmare horror stories reactions? Just drop the comments, bro. But yeah, I also have the Q&A coming out hopefully tomorrow or the day after. So last chance, bro. Drop as many questions as you can in the comments down below. I'm picking them all up together and just answering all of them. Quick little 1,000 subscriber special Q&A. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, subscribe, and peace.
Bring me